The compound's been overrun. We better do something about that. Now I'm bringing Mercer because that's part of the daily challenge. And this is the team that I'm going to use. Magna, of course, is our star hero. Using the Skegox. That's a lot of rules. She has a very interesting leadership trait, which I still don't feel like I've got to grips with. So I think it'll be fun to use her, get some practice with that. Connie, of course, imbues charge points like anybody. I'm going to use the Devourer with Mercer. And ooh, what do we want to do? I think we'll mix that up. We'll have that. Let's just see what this weekly challenge has in store for us. Okay, so gather all supplies. Maybe what I should have done, I could have bought Rick. We've got a huge swathe of enemies there. Let's create the glowing green circle of death. You can see them getting dragged in there, getting rooted as well. Ensnared, sorry, that's the word. And this is kind of an interesting one. We've got some dark corners around which walkers can hide. There's some big bad things as well, like that tank. There is a threat counter as well, so me making noise, perhaps not best advised thing to be doing. You can see that circle up there by this locker. That's smaller. That's because, of course, Mercer is a ranged character. So ranged characters, they do get those sort of vortexes, whatever you'd want to call them, from Magna. They just tend to be smaller. So this is pretty straightforward. Get the stuff, kill the walkers. There's 2 exits, one at the bottom left, one at the bottom right. So that's handy to know. You don't all have to go barreling over to one side of the screen to escape. Glenn would be a good choice on this mission. Of course, he's a melee character. I think that they benefit more from Magna's leadership trait. And you're going to want to use her because she's the star leader. She's the star hero. If you've got to distract anything, flares, anything like that. I suppose Huntsman Daryl Beta, you can just sort of sneak past things. Doesn't work on big walkers like tanks. So you better have something big and powerful to deal with them. Of course, if you've got this particular leader, you can sort of ensnare enemies quite easily. You don't have to kill them. You've just got to search those lockers and then you can get out. So you can just tie them up basically and run past them. It's a strategy. Find the loot and get out. Okay, Mercer is still part of my daily challenge, but I tell you what, we're going to swiftly swap. We're going to have Pizza Man Glenn. He's going to be doing the searching. Now, I think it's fair to say that when you do your charge attack, the vortex appears where the blow lands, as opposed to where your character is. So if you have something with a little bit of reach, it hits a little bit differently to if you just have a standard melee weapon. Seems like we've got a red glowy box right there. That means that if we open that, trouble could ensue. So why don't we check everything else first? Could be that that's always going to be the last box that you have to check. But you may as well check everything else. And of course that spawns a tank. You got a threat counter on this one as well. So keeping it quiet, probably a good idea. Or having weapons that reduce threat. You saw that I'm using the Ruby Crescent, I think it's called, or the Sawtooth Blade, if you happen to have those. Good choices for that mission. Otherwise, just use melee characters, keep it quiet. You've already got somebody who provides a pretty good boost for close range combat characters, so just roll with it. I do think that Glenn's a good choice for that one. Especially if you've got a weapon that rewards a action point after a kill. That's just fantastic. You can kill, search something, and then you can move away, kill, you know, whatever you need to do. Secure the area by taking out all of the walkers. Thank you for your service, Glenn. But I think this is a bit of a Connie thing. Let's give her the old assault rifle. Mercer's a good old choice for this as well. Let's get to it. So, warriors are going to start charge. That's good. You probably have a lot of fun with Tyrese on your team. So he should get dragged in, he should get dragged in. Let's just check that that's what's going to happen. Let's not shoot them. Yeah, so there you go. You can see that he got dragged in. Let's finish him off. No threat counter here. And of course, when an enemy is in that green vortex, they're going to take more damage. That's kind of what that does. They get stuck, and they get hit harder. This, actually having some ranged characters on this one is a pretty good idea. You've almost got the screen split into two halves, right and left. You start on the right. No need to be quiet. No time pressures, nothing to search. So you can just bring your favourite ranged characters and they'll really shine on that particular mission. You can still use Magna as the leader, of course, because her leadership trait does affect ranged characters, just not to as great an effect as melee characters. That one's not too tricky, really. I mean, if anything starts too close to you, think about using tools, grenades, flares, stun grenades. You know, if you need to buy some time. When you get into the higher difficulties, really think about incendiary weapons. If you've got them, you'll have time for them to work. Find and kill the tough walkers. I feel that what we could do, let's have an all-warrior team. I like the idea of Tyrese's... like the idea of his debuff circles working with Magna's. Let's get nuts. Yeah. So they're all going to start charged. So we're just going to see the that vortex in action. Fighting Spirit, I think it's called. Ooh. Do your Texas Chainsaw Massacre thing, Michonne. Beautiful. Loving your work. Of course, she's not a bad choice. If you've got a threat counter as well, Michonne can reduce the threat count. Let's just see what happens. Yeah, I figured. We're not in a rush to take anything out. What we could do is this. So that's not a great place to create a debuff circle. That absolutely is. Magna, can you finish him off? Yes. Beautiful. So what I could have done is I could have tried to engineer it so that he would be in the fighting spirit, that green vortex, and also in Tyrese's circle, that would have just dealt a lot of harm to that tank. I guess as you go up in difficulty and things get trickier and the walkers get tougher, it might be worth thinking about the placement, where you're going to be putting those vortexes. Because it's a pretty big boost to damage. Okay, we want to get at least 610 stars, of course, because we have another seasonal event on. 610 is the maximum amount of stars that you can get where you are earning points towards the seasonal event. So this one... yeah, this one's a bit of a funny one. Let's put a debuff circle there. That's kind of like... that seems like a natural choke point. Let's... so these guys don't seem too interested in us. I knew that there was at least one tank there. So there you go. You got that wonderful double circle there. Now Tyrese, I'm gonna tempt fate a little bit. He should be okay because anything that goes in there should be ensnared, and it was. Now the tank ain't gonna be able to reach us. Didn't get ensnared by the vortex, so that's something, I guess. Guess because he walked into it the turn after it had been created. But he didn't get ensnared by it, so... So this one can be tricky. It's all up close and personal. I think it kind of plays pretty well to melee characters. There's not an awful lot of opportunity to sneak past stuff, so I recommend bringing people who just hit really hard. Or, of course, do crazy things like Tyrese. Bring your biggest, sharpest, heaviest weapons as well. I mean, you got at least a tank to deal with as well. Magna's skill will help. Rat Race, reach the exit. Oh, this one's... yeah, I think I know this one. Let's just pop it on. I think this one's a bit of a convoluted one. There's sort of a bit of a M-shaped, N-shaped mission. Yeah, that's it. So wouldn't be too tricky to get through here, but you got to go around those boxes. And who knows what is around each corner. I'm personally taking this nice and slow. See if we can thin the herd a little bit. Let's slow you down, sir. By slow down, I meant kill. Okay, there we go. He got ensnared. That's Magna's skill for you. Cool. I'm going to stay here just because I don't know what is around that corner necessarily. Let's thin the herd again. Lovely. Let's get out of the way of that guy. Tyrese, you've got Overwatch. Okay, Michonne's being a bit of a beast. So this one quickly becomes very tricky. I actually think Magna's a pretty good choice because you can create bottlenecks very easily. With melee characters, she creates a 2x2 vortex, and that's the exact length of those tight little corridors that you've got to go through. I think Tyrese is a very, very good choice as well. You've got a really good double whammy there. You're either slowing or ensnaring walkers, and you're either inflicting damage on them as they walk into it, or they're going to take extra damage when you hit them as they are, you know, in that area. So I actually think they're a pretty good choice. Maybe bring something that has a little bit of range. You can see that Daryl Skegox, it reaches a bit of a distance. There's things like the Dragon's Tongue as well. Even some scout weapons that can prod 2 squares away. So that's kind of a good choice. You can ensnare something, and then you can just poke away at it, and it can't even hit you back. It's a tough one though. We're back to the start, and that's what is in store for us at the Overrun compound. It's a bit of a tricky one with some fiddly missions, but keep in mind when you may want to stay quiet. Use Magna's skill judiciously. And if you do have any dramas, just let me know, and either me or somebody else I'm sure will be able to help. Good luck to you and your guild, and I'll catch you on the next video.